right, guys. Hey, welcome to the West Coast YouTube channel. Today, we've got Jeremiah on, and he's going to kind of break down some of the things that he's been doing and some of the breakthrough that he's had. So real quick, Jeremiah, I'd love to have you just share a little bit about yourself as far as your age, how long you've been in the business. And also what I like to do is have you kind of talk about some of the mental roadblocks and struggles and things that you were telling yourself in the beginning that kind of held you back or hurt you as you got started.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Jeremiah. I'm 19. I've been doing this business for about 4 months now. And the biggest roadblocks that I can say that I ran into was myself. I think the biggest thing that I was really challenged with was just getting over myself and, telling myself that I'm worth being able to be at this opportunity, because I was come from, working at Starbucks and, $15 an hour was what I thought my worth was. So when I came here and, the opportunity we have, it was very hard for me to get over myself and realize how good this opportunity was, and to really put my pride aside and work as hard as I can. Because, being 19, everything comes easy to you. When you're in high school, you have no responsibility. So when you have to get up and go work and you see your friends out there partying and stuff like that, it's really challenging to be like, I wish I was doing that, but like, oh, let me be a grown person and, actually go to work for my future. I think the biggest challenge was just really getting over myself and just really looking myself in the mirror and telling myself I want something more for my future and not just for the now.
I love that, man. And I can say this, dude, like I've got to know you pretty well in the last couple months. And when it comes to just like a good attitude, positive, good energy, coachable, trainable, shows up, does what he says he's going to do, man, you've been an absolute blessing to work with. And I mean that, man. Sometimes I get off the phone, I'm like, God, like, is there anybody out there that like takes responsibility, that actually wants to grow, that does what they say they're going to do, because it's, we work with a lot of people, dude. And sometimes people suck. I agree. Like, what do you want me to tell you? Like, it is what it is. Yes. I love people, but sometimes they suck, but you've been so great to work with, man. And I know James the fourth feels the same way. I know James Denisha feel the same way. And you've helped the team be better because you're on it, and I mean that.
Yeah. I think, honestly, coming into this was really difficult to figure out what I was doing, but, Big James and Tanisha, they really helped me out a lot. When it came to the challenges I faced, I really wouldn't be here without them, because I didn't see myself as a business owner. You've helped me a lot, and James and just everybody in the Midgard family, they've helped me see myself who I should be and not just like the persona that I thought I was. So I really big shout out to them. They really have made me who I am. And you too. I know I bug, if you talk to Daniel or Chase or anybody that's better than me, I call you like almost every single day. I think being coachable is the best thing that you could be in this business.
Well, dude, I'll tell you what, man, there's so much stuff that you just said that we can unpack, and there's so much like wisdom and lessons in that, like even the coachability part of that. Like I remember reading this in a book, and it was Sam Walton that owned Walmart. These Brazilian brothers were starting a retail store in Brazil, and their goal was to kind of figure out and learn from other people's mistakes, people that had been successful, people that had gone the way forward and have now had and attained success that they wanted. And they thought, let's send some letters out. I mean, it's obviously back in the day, and see who replies. So they sent out hundreds of letters to all these different retail stores. And Sam was one of them that got back to him and said, yeah, I'll meet with you guys. So they flew in from Brazil, and Sam picks him up in his beat up truck, right? They're like, who's this? This guy really run Walmart? He's a billionaire at the time. They go to his house, beautiful house. His wife's making dinner, and they have hours of conversation as they eat and, socialize, and they leave. And as they're leaving, they start talking about like what they learned and what they came to the conclusion is like, dude, we were talking the whole time. Sam wasn't talking, like he was asking the questions. Right. And in an interview about this story, later down the line, they asked Sam, like, why did you, like, you're already a billionaire, like, why were you asking them questions? They're just starting a retail store. Right. His answer was like, I already know what I know. I don't know what they know. Meaning that they're starting this new store in Brazil. I don't know what they've already figured out, what they've researched, how they do things out there. Maybe there's a different way they format or structure or do the shelving. He didn't know what he didn't know. And I read that, I'm like, that's so good to be that lifelong learner, right? And then the other end of that story, which is true, which is hilarious to me, the guys these Brazilian brothers launched a retail store in Brazil, And they get a call from the store manager after it's already kind of been built and it's going. And they say, hey, man, there was this crazy dude that was crawling up and down the aisles. We got him arrested. He was measuring the aisles. And so he goes and calls and finds out it was Sam Walton. He the owner of Walmart flew to Brazil and was measuring the aisle width to see if they had figured out a way to make the aisles smaller to fit more aisles in the shop in the warehouse. It's just always getting better. Always learning, and I think that coachability is freedom. When you're coachable, you can be free of thinking about what you're thinking about and empowered and enabled to just go out there and do and execute on what you've been told. And things shouldn't make sense. Like Jeremiah, when you got started, when somebody said like invest $1,000 in leads, did that make sense to you at all?
It made complete no sense, especially when I first started. I mean, I would invest here and there, $200 here, $300 here, and then be like, dude, you need to buy more leads. And I was like, okay, that's what I need to do. But it was very, very, very uncomfortable because I'm like, dude, $1,000 was my entire paycheck when I came from. So to be able to do that and put that into the business with, the thing that came to my mind was like, oh, what if I don't make it back? And, that's something that my friends always ask me, like, dude, but like, you don't know when you're getting paid. I was like, I know I'm going to get paid because I'm going to work. Like, I know I'm going to get paid because I'm going to work for it. So that I had to change that in my head because I was like, dude, if I invest this $1,000, I make nothing back, then, I'm out of luck. But it's like, dude, if I invest that, then I'm going to get it back because I'm going to work for it. So it was very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah. So dude, the thing is this, what your friends were saying did make more sense though to you than what we were saying, right?
Oh, 100%. I was like, dude, why would I do that? That makes no sense. I mean, those shoes look great. I'd love to wear those, but I had to put it in perspective of what my future is going to look like. Cause those shoes that I might buy with $1,000 rather than investing in leads aren't going to make me financially free like my goal is. So I had to really change that perspective by learning from people like you and just people that are higher up. They really just, help me change that perspective.
So you came to the office like all the time, and are you on all the podcasts?
Yeah, it's funny. I've seen like 8 steps to final expense at least like 12 times. Daniel's podcast about phone script like 12 times. I'm constantly listening to stuff and plugging into the office as often as I can so I can just learn as much as I can, because I think no matter how much you learn, because to be honest with you, you can really consume a lot of knowledge within a short period of time. Like from your podcast, you said you knew the phone script within a couple of days because you drilled and rehearsed it, and you could do that, but you got to continue to grow because you're going to forget things that you should have been saying. Like I took something from the phone script that I learned from you. I was like, oh, I forgot to start saying that. And then I booked 4 more appointments with it. So I think constantly drilling and rehearsing the stuff you already know is just going to make it permanent in your brain.
Yeah, I agree, dude. And I think what I realize now, probably more than I ever have, is like how important reminders are. Mm-hmm. Like sometimes reminders are more important than getting like new information necessarily.
Oh yeah.
And you're only reminded about what's in front of you and what you're exposed to, what goes in your ears and what goes in your eyes, like what you're seeing and what you're hearing. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's so important to be on the calls and the podcasts and training. Because Jeremiah, do you remember a time where like all of a sudden the stuff that your friends were saying started to make not as much sense, and what we were saying started to make more sense? Did that kind of happen?
Oh yeah. It started when I was making their paycheck in a day. That's when it started.
So the evidence kind of basically made you think like, maybe they're full of it.
Yes.
Maybe they're not right with what they're saying.
Yeah. Cause they'll give these excuses on, yeah, but you could do that with it. You don't know if you're going to get it back, but then like, doing it and getting the results, it's like, dude, if you just work for it, you're going to get it back.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Are you spending more time or less time with the people, the friends that were giving you that kind of feedback?
The only friends I have are the ones that work at FFL. I really don't though. I don't hang out with anybody outside of work. I'm working, almost every single day, even on Sundays when it's church day, I'm still working. I'm getting my leads ready. I'm figuring out back office stuff. So I'm constantly working. I don't really have time for my friends. And it's funny because I'm on my own schedule. I'm like, oh, when do you work? They're like, oh, I get off at this time. I'm like, yeah, now I'm working. Sorry, I can't do anything.
Well, dude, the thing is this, man, like that's the best way you can help your friends, man, is like to be a success story where you go out and you do things different, because the herd does it in such a way that gives them what the herd got, right? And you look at the country and how many people are middle income, barely getting by. And I mean, it's built on democracy, right? It's built on working for somebody, all those different things. But when you can kind of go out and they're watching you, they're seeing you, that example, like people do what people do. And even if it's from kind of an afar, you might be the only person, because now you're out there helping 20 families in like the last couple of weeks, and as this thing continues to grow and you continue to be consistent with these things that are working, because the compound effect will work both ways, but it's so essential. You know what I mean? Like 100%. Where you're spending your time, and see, like when you're spending your time with association where people are not giving you the right feedback and on your side and wanting to help you, dude, that's taking your time, because your energy drops. You start doing things that way, and that way doesn't lead to the way you want to have as far as a path to success.
Right.
And so you started to change that. Your association changed dramatically. And somebody on your feet like, dude, that's rude. Like, how could you do that to like your friends? Like, man, if they're your friends, they want you to go after what your dream is. Right. I was talking to this agent, and they said, we know my kids and this and that. And that's why I'm not out there putting the hours in. And I said, man, like, listen, with all due respect, like I did it for my kids. Like the colleges that they're going to be able to go to,
right?
The Christian school that I get to pay for, where they get to see their dad going after his dream. Like, do you know how, like, God's put something in everybody to go out there and be great? I think one of the biggest forms of child neglect is not showing your kids how to do that and why to do that.
I agree. I think that's probably like the biggest thing that affected me. I mean, I didn't have that from my parents. I didn't see somebody going out chasing their dreams. That's not something I saw. So I feel like if I would have had that kind of vision, then it would have instilled a fire in me to want to pursue that from a younger age. But I had to look at it for myself and really focus on what I wanted for myself.
That's so big. I mean, 100%. So there are always two ways to look at it. Like I did it for my kids, or I couldn't do it because of my kids, and I'm telling you, your kids are watching. The best thing they can see is that example of you giving it 100%, like you getting after something, man, you being hungry, you building something, you creating something, you making a difference, you giving back, you being resourceful. That's what matters most. And by the way, I think a lot of people, myself included, I didn't have that example. My dad was a plumber. My mom worked at the schools as a volunteer. I mean, like, I didn't have that example. You know what I mean? My dad ended up starting his business when I was, turning 18. So it's like I lived on my own when I was 17. My junior in high school, I was out on my own. He said, "How'd you get a house?" I'm not going to go into that, right? I've been saved. It's been set free. But I'm just telling you, like, it is important. So how did you, like, the thought process of what was derived from the past, like how you were raised and how you grew up, what's been the biggest breakthrough mentally, like your mindset on seeing abundance and seeing things in a way that's leading your action to give you those outcomes? And I know you're just getting going, but I can already see it. The progression's happening. Like what's been the shift mentally, and how do you see things now as far as the business goes?
I think one thing that I think about is I was one of those kids that I was not living in the best possible position, but then I would go to my friend's house and they would have all the toys and they would have the big house, the pool and all that. And I would always wonder, I'm like, how, like, you're so lucky. But getting older, finding this business is not, they weren't lucky. Their parents just really put the hard work in. And I think that's one of the most mental changing things that I found for myself, is that, getting the work and putting that in is what's going to get those results that you desire. I think that's the biggest thing that I really realized, is that I really need to work for my dreams. It's not just going to be handed to me, especially with social media nowadays. You see people, oh, I did this and I made $5 million in 5 minutes. Like that stuff, like that's all over the internet. And that kind of, it shadows what the real, like what you really have to do. Because I feel like nowadays it's hard work is something that they think is that you don't have to do, that it's going to come easy. You have to be a genius and figure something out. But really working for something is what it's going to take, not you're going to get lucky. Like that only happens to 1% of people. You have to be the other 99% who have to actually work for something.
That's so good, man. God, I love how you put that. And that's so true. Like, believing that the people that are where you're at, they're there because of luck or because of, just by chance, happen chance, like, dude, that takes the responsibility off you. And I think for a lot of people, I wonder if, that's something you've been exposed to, where it's easy for the person that maybe it's a parents, it could be friends, it could be family, where they've always kind of communicated and held themselves in a way where, the people that are in a really good financial situation, it's because they're lucky. or because they have what we don't have. Therefore, we can't get there. And because sometimes that clothes you and keeps you warm. You know, I can stay warm enough to survive, not getting where I know God's put in me to get to, because God's created everybody greatness. He's given everybody a purpose. You know, he doesn't go out there and, you know, qualify the call. He calls it, you know, what is it, Casey? He doesn't qualify the call. Call the qualified. That's right. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. Yeah. And everybody's been called. Everybody has a calling on their life, you know? And I think that when you can let go of that and say, no, it's on me and it's going to take hard work. And that's a lazy excuse. And I wonder if anybody on here has bought that in some way, because it can show up in every way. Did that show up with like leads as well and just different areas of the business where you thought, well, it's because of this or that or this? Yeah,
100%. I mean, you when you come into adversity, you're going to assume that everything is against you. It's not your fault. And I think that's the biggest thing I learned here is that it is your fault. If a lead says this and they hang up on you, it's because it's your fault. If they say this in the home, it's your fault. If you get a bunch of no-showed, it's your fault. It's not the leads, because you can sit next to people that are doing the same thing as you and they're writing a lot of business off the same leads, same amount of lead purchase, same amount of money spent, but they're producing at a higher level because they've put the time and effort into learn and how to get better. So everything's your fault if you're not working hard for it. You know what I mean? I think that's the way I see it. It's like in the beginning, I didn't see it that way. Like if it wasn't going in my favor, then it was everybody else's fault. It wasn't my fault. But I think what really helped me change that was just really thinking that I have control of my income and my results, that if I put the extra effort in, oh, wow, look, I had a better results than I did when I was barely working.
I love that, dude. That's great. Well, I think that, you know, looking at the practical part of it now, the question I've got. So a lot of that's mindset, mental, which guys is most of business. Most of it is, dude. It's so much of the business is having your mind right and seeing things the right way. And then the other part of it is just the work part of it, you know? And if your mind's right, it's going to work out. I mean, if your mind's right, when things don't go right, you'll find the good in it and you'll learn from it.
If you put in perspective too, what we do here, like it's 95% mindset, 5% work. Because if you explain to somebody what you do, they're like, dude, you don't even work hard. Like I was talking to my friend, he said, dude, you don't have to work hard. That construction's hard work.
That's
what
right.
You do is not hard work. I was like, all right, well, let's see you dial for 12 hours and then get no showed after spending all that time and spending money. Let's see that, like, it's 5% of it is the work. If I explain to you, Paul, and you don't know anything about it, you're going to be like, that seems really easy. Like, are you just printing money? Like, what are you doing is illegal, right? Like I feel like that's how you can see it. Like the work is not,
it isn't, dude.
It's not complicated,
but it's all based off how you see it, man. Like,
exactly.
Like, dude, most people pray for something like this where they can go sit. I mean, dude, there's agents that are watching ESPN all day booking 15 appointments. I mean, dude, like it's bizarre. I mean, like you're sitting dialing appointments and you're driving in your air conditioned car, dude. Like a lot of you guys got nice cars. You're in a nice freaking car driving from one house to the next, listening to a podcast or some good, whatever, talking to somebody or trying to recruit and build a business. Like this is, you're not digging ditches, right? You're not, you know, bending, you know, iron. You're not doing those things, right? Crowbar. Like that's what I did. I had to make septic tanks. I was in Barstow, California, where you know Barstow is.
Oh yeah, I know where Barstow is.
And dude, that was my summer job, bro. You know how hot it was in Barstow?
Oh my gosh.
It was like 115 degrees and I was bending rebar to form the septic tanks. And then I was pouring the septic tanks with the concrete. Dude,
crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I was complaining about the heat and I was writing an e-app outside in Barstow.
Exactly. So I'm saying it's all relative, man. But like, you're right. It is such a beautiful thing, but there is that work and the discipline that has to come with it. What are some of what's like the biggest discipline that you've put in place that you believe has helped you see the success that you're starting to see now?
To be plugged in and just dialing and just really being, disciplined with going to your appointments. I did that a lot. I would book appointments and be like, oh yeah, that one wasn't that good. I'm not going to go. They're not going to be there. I'm not going to go. And I would be being very disciplined and just sticking to your schedule and having a structured schedule and just really dialing from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and then running your appointments and setting a goal to door knock every week. Like having that structure, you may not get the results the first week, but the second week you may get a little bit. And then the third week, you're going to get a big result. And then they're like, dude, you killed it this month, but they don't look at the first week where you struggled really hard.
I love that, dude. Well, the thing is this, it's having an opportunist mindset. Mm-hmm. Like you're seeing an opportunity and everything, it's not going to work out. Yeah. Like the failure in it. Just start expecting more yeses. Expect them to be there, right? Mm-hmm. Expect them to be at their house.
Right.
Expect to book the appointment. Like, do you think Steph Curry expects to miss shots? No, what's his expectation? He's gonna make every one of them.
Yeah.
Like, now, does he make every one of them? Almost, but he doesn't, right?
Right.
But he expects that. Yeah. And that's how everybody should see it. I expect to book every family that I call. I expect every client to be there. I expect that to serve and get a voided check and an app submitted on every family. Does it happen all the time? No, but should it? I think so, because it's the most important thing ever. Meaning that what that leads you to do is keep an opportunist mindset and always get better, grow, and develop. And it allows you to say yes more to the things you need to say yes to, and no to more of the things that you can say no to. If I expected that the client was going to be there and I was going to get a yes all the time, it wouldn't be so hard for me to go to my 8 o'clock appointment at 9 p.m. when I'm an hour behind and I'm 2 hours away and I know I'm going to get home real late. If I knew they're going to be yes, I'm going to make, $2,000 because they're going to be paying, $2,000 a year in premium. If I know that they're paying that premium, right, and I'm at 100% commission and they're going to deposit me $2,000 for going to serve that family, I'm not going to not go now because I'm thinking it's not worth me missing on that income. But if I'm like, they're probably not going to be there, it basically sets me up to more likely to just say, I'm not going to go and make the wrong choice, right? All right, last question I've got for you is more mechanical. Like, what's one tip you can give us on the sales side? Like, what's one thing that you've learned, you've gotten better? Like, give us some kind of sales tip that we can leave and go out there and apply and get better this week.
Being human. In this business, there's a lot of scripts and things that you're supposed to say, and it's just very robotic. Being human is the biggest thing that I've learned. To be honest with you, after just really trying to connect with people and just really trying to figure out why you're there is the biggest thing I can do. I think my biggest tip I could probably give to people to maybe stop having so many chargebacks and really have built that customer connection is at the end of the appointment, when everything's said and done, what I say, I'm like, hey, thank you, Paul. I really do appreciate you allowing me to protect your family here today. What I want you to do is if anything happens to you, please make sure you give my number to your family so they don't have to go through the carriers. The carriers, they take a long time to get back. They get thousands of calls. So Paul, if anything happens to you, I want your family to contact me. I'm going to expedite the process. I think that's one big thing that I've been adding that's been helping me a lot, because now my clients want to give me hugs and they're calling me and I'm like friends with them after I've helped them out. But you do need to be very structured and be very professional.
I love that, man. Be authentic and be you. Be you. And I think nowadays too, with such an artificial world, dude, a lot of stuff is like people's, highlight reels, all the great things, the things that are perceived to be better than they actually are. We compare our behind the scenes. So it makes us feel inadequate, not good enough. And that's a struggle that most people have. And that's a struggle that the enemy wants to magnify and glorify, that keeps you from actually going out there and living in potential, moving with confidence, boldness, and faith. And that there being authentic, it shines so bright in an artificial world. And so that's something that is essential. And if you want to go out there and help more families, I think, dude, you nailed it, bro.
I think too,
be more authentic.
Yeah, 100%. And I also think that just figure out the why and why they want you there, because I feel like everybody in this business that asks for help, they want to be helped. They just don't want to be lied to, or they don't want to be sold. They want to be helped out. And just realizing that mental change and putting all your problems behind you and really just focusing on that family, not looking at it as an appointment or looking at it as money, just looking at it as, if I looked at you and I'm helping you, I'm like, dude, one day, he's not going to be here, and his wife and his kids are going to be mourning, and they're going to need my help to deliver that check so that they don't have to move out of this house.
I love it, man. So good, dude. Well, thank you so much, bro. That was phenomenal stuff. Guys, I hope this helps. Make it a massive week. Go out there and crush it. Put these things into practice. To know and not to do is not to know. Let's go out there and increase our knowing and our doing, and make it a massive week. Be strong, stay steadfast. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.